Welcome to But Frankly Pierce News. I'm Arthur Fairview. Here's what we're facing. Violence and politics have been dangerous bedfellows ever since 2016, and now they have truly merged. New Mexico, December 4th, 8 shots were fired into County Commissioner Adrian Barboa's southeast Albuquerque home. On December 11th, more than 12 bullets hit County Commissioner Debbie O'Malley's North Valley home. Sometime in early December, State Representative Javier Martinez's home was shot up, and although the damage was not found until after the investigation into the other shootings was announced. On January 3rd, shots rang out at State Senator Linda Lopez's home. 3 bullets went through her daughter's bedroom as the 10-year-old slept. On Monday, January 16th, the Albuquerque Police Department arrested Solomon Pena, an unsuccessful Republican candidate for the House District 14 seat in the South Valley, in connection with the shootings at local Democratic politicians' homes. Pena is accused of conspiring with and paying 4 other men to shoot at the homes of 2 county commissioners and 2 state legislators, according to Police Chief Harold Medina. Albuquerque police had been investigating 6 shootings from December 4th to January 5th, where bullets were fired into Democratic elected officials' homes or near others' offices.
Why would somebody do such a thing?
Why do you think? And so it has come to this.
This type of radicalism is a threat to our nation, and it has made its way to our doorstep right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But I know here we are going to push back, and we will not allow this to cross the threshold. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, this was about a right-wing radical, an election denier who was arrested today, and someone who did the worst imaginable thing you can do when you have a political disagreement, which is turn that to violence. That should never be the case.
The evidence against Pena includes confidential witness testimony, cell phone records, bullet casings, and surveillance footage, according to Chief Medina. Court documents also show Pena appears to have taken a selfie with one of his accused co-conspirators. About 40 minutes after the attack on the Lopez's home, a sheriff's deputy pulled over Jose Trujillo. He was found to have an outstanding felony arrest warrant. When the car was searched, police found 800 pills of suspected fentanyl, a large amount of cash, and 2 guns in the trunk, an AR-15 style weapon, and a Glock 17 with a drum magazine. Tests later confirmed that the Glock had been used in the shooting at Lopez's home.
You think he talked?
Does the Pope wear a dress?
According to authorities, Pena was angry over his defeat and made baseless claims that the election last November was rigged against him. He lost in the general election to Democrat Miguel Garcia, who received 73.6% of the vote. Pena has been described as a gushing Trump supporter and emulated Trump as an election denier.
Has it finally come to this?
I hope not.
You're doomed.
Speaking of being doomed, what do Matt Gaetz, Paul Gosar, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Scott Perry, and Lauren Boebert have in common?
They're all right-wing extremist group Trump-supporting election deniers.
They all got plum committee assignments as a trade-off for getting Kevin McCarthy elected as Speaker?
Yes, to both. Now the inmates are truly running the asylum.
Too bad you're crazy. Too bad you're loony as hell. So long, it could have been swell together.
And speaking of crazy, now that Kevin McCarthy sold his soul to the extremists of the Freedom Caucus,
15th time's the charm.
the Republicans have taken over the House, and the inevitable attacks on the current administration have begun. The discovery of classified government documents at the office and home of President Biden are a bone of contention with the GOP.
Are you talking about the Guardians of the Peace?
How did those hackers get that name?
First of all, the name. When you guys were sitting around and pitching it, was one guy like, I've got an idea. Let's call ourselves the Guardians of Peace, or the GOP. Hello? Way to go, a-holes. There's already a GOP, and they're already an evil organization.
Despite the fact that Attorney General Merrick Garland has appointed a special counsel to investigate, the Republican majority of the House is grandstanding this issue by having their own investigation.
This sounds very familiar.
Yes. Yes, it does.
You're right. There are similarities to the ongoing investigation into failed former President Trump's document debacle, but there are also some major differences. Let's take a deeper dive into those. Was their intent to take and withhold documents? Well, according to the Washington Post, federal agents and prosecutors have come to believe that failed former president's motives for allegedly taking and keeping classified documents were largely due to his ego and a desire to hold on to the materials as trophies or mementos, according to people familiar with the matter. New York Times reported that the failed former president had told close associates that he regarded some presidential documents as his own personal property. Legal designations be damned.
I'd call that a big yes.
As for President Biden, the White House stated he was unaware of the existence of the documents, and the lawyers that found them handed them over right away. So intent does not seem plausible. How many documents were found? The failed former president had more than 300 classified documents, according to the New York Times, while President Biden had 16, according to the Associated Press. Where were the classified documents, and who potentially had access to them? President Biden's lawyer found 10 in a box in a locked closet at the Penn Biden Center, and an additional 6 were found at his Wilmington, Delaware home. Failed former president had at his Mar-a-Lago resort in high-traffic areas, according to the New York Times.
Exposure potential. Let me see now.
I think a high-traffic area of a resort poses a bit more risk, don't you?
Indeed.
What was the level of cooperation? Well, after the materials were discovered at the think tank by Biden's personal attorneys, they immediately alerted the White House counsel's office, which notified the National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA, which took custody of the documents the next day. According to the Associated Press, since that discovery, the attorneys have cooperated with the archives and the Department of Justice in a process to ensure that any Obama-Biden administration records are appropriately in the possession of the archives. Part of that cooperation, including Biden's personal lawyers examining other locations where records might have been shipped after Biden left the vice presidency in 2017, which led to the additional discovery at his Wilmington home. As damaging as this sounds, it is in stark contrast with that of the failed former president.
Would you like me to explain?
I would love to hear this.
In May of 2021, Nara emailed his lawyers notifying them that 24 boxes of original records were not turned over, according to the Washington Post. A Trump representative told Nara in December 2021 that presidential records had been found at Mar-a-Lago nearly a year after Trump left office. 15 boxes of records containing some classified material were transferred from Mar-a-Lago to Nara in January.
Is that it?
No, there's more.
A few months later, investigators from the Justice Department and FBI visited Mar-a-Lago to get more information about classified materials taken to Florida. Federal officials also served a subpoena for some documents believed to be at the estate. In August 2022, FBI agents conducted a search, retrieved 33 boxes from Mar-a-Lago. The search came after lawyers for Trump provided a sworn certification that all government records had been returned.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Sounds like one of these guys really tips the scale.
In more ways than one.
Next, what would you do with a pile of cash?
Seriously?
Is this a trick question?
On Friday, January 13th, someone won $1.35 billion. It was the 4th largest Mega Millions jackpot. Ticket was sold at Hometown Gas and Grill in Lebanon, Maine, just over the New Hampshire border.
I won. The money is mine. I have the money. The money is mine.
More and more Americans are asking themselves what they would do with a multi-million or billion-dollar payday. Powerball and Mega Millions lotteries are giving you more chances than ever for several reasons. To start, advertising. Sensational jackpots are happening more and more often than they were in recent years.
And we've seen that.
And lost money playing it.
Huge jackpots make for eye-catching headlines. 500 million, 731.9 million, 2.4 billion.
$100 billion.
But while the term jackpot might imply a pile of cash waiting to be raked in by a lucky winner, the reality is quite different. In fact, the term jackpot is
Not entirely accurate.
These advertised jackpots are based on annuities, which in turn are based on interest rates. And as interest rates rose sharply over the past year, they took jackpot totals along for the ride.
And those lotteries are available in more states now.
And the price per ticket went up.
Yes, Powerball and Mega Millions threw out an old agreement restricting each of them to separate parts of the country. And since all but 5 states operate lotteries, now more players further dilute the odds.
But at what cost? At what cost?
Yes, the price of a ticket doubled, first with Powerball in 2012, and then Mega Millions in 2017. This lets money accumulate much more quickly than in the past. Both lotteries have changed their odds, as they now give players roughly a 1 in 300 million chance of winning.
Never tell me the odds.
Because now that they made it harder to win, it means it is more likely for the jackpot to roll over and get larger and larger, as well as more tempting.
And that changes the demographic.
They are essentially preying on the poor by selling them hope.
One has to consider this purely as a form of entertainment. As soon as people start thinking of it as an investment product, that's a problem, because it's an investment with a huge negative return on average.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Even if you do win, you might have to split the prize with other winners, and the actual cash payout will be much smaller than the jackpot, even before the IRS grabs its share.
Wait, are they lying about the actual payout amount?
I knew it.
No, they're not lying per se. When people win the lottery, they get to choose between taking a cash payout or having organizers invest the money in an annuity that will pay them once now and again for roughly the next 29 years. On the day of the drawing, the actual amount of money at stake might be huge, but it's much smaller than the advertised jackpot.
Well, that explains it.
Good. Glad I could help.
No, not you.
Well, what then?
The reason for those annoying commercials.
If you get long-term payments, but you need cash now. Call J.G. Wentworth. It's a cash now.
Oh, great. Thanks. Now I have that song in my head.
Oh, listen to some Tom Petty.
Great earworm cleaner.
And now, we would like to introduce a new segment we like to call
The Deuce You Say.
2 people in Florida were arrested after one of them made a 911 call to get help with moving their belongings from a home they were burglarizing.
Of course it's in Florida.
According to Polk County Sheriff's Office, deputies responded to a home Saturday after a 911 call was made, but nobody spoke. At the home, the deputies concluded that nobody lived there, but they found a male suspect and his girlfriend inside the home after entering it through an unlocked door. Deputies had been searching for the male suspect after identifying him from a security video as a burglar at a Dollar General store in Poinciana, Florida, about 35 miles south of Orlando.
Who robs a Dollar General? Honestly.
While talking to deputies, the female suspect told them that she had called 911 for the purpose of having law enforcement help them move their belongings from the house they were burglarizing. They also wanted to get a ride to the airport so they could spend the weekend in New York.
I've heard of police departments diversifying and doing community outreach, but acting as a moving company?
It's Florida. Look who is there. DeSantis, Trump, Bolsonaro.
If I may continue. Deputies did help them with their belongings and did give them a ride.
Really?
Who'd thought it?
But it wasn't to the airport, it was to the Pokey, the sheriff's office said in a Facebook post. And they are welcome to stay there all weekend long.
That's right, we bad.
It has been 742 days since the January 6th attack on the Capitol and our democracy, and failed former President Trump has still not been indicted or charged with anything. This has been by Frankly Pierce News. Thanks for watching. I'm Arthur Fairview. I'm the innocent bystander, but somehow I got stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I'm down on my luck.
Thank you.